Namaskar everyone and welcome to the Gita Satsang. Let us start with the Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have assembled for this Gita Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let's chant the shlokas. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranatakleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimadvenkatanathaaryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyutapadambuja Yukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmatguror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with prayers at the lotus feet of the Acharyas, let us take up our topic for today. So in the last satsang, we had stopped with the shloka number 40, in which Krishna was reassuring Arjuna that even if somebody gives up or gets diverted from the path of yoga which they have started, they will not be forsaken by me. Arjuna's doubt was that suppose somebody starts doing yoga abhyasa and then in the middle, for whatever reason, they get diverted, they get distracted from that. What will happen to them? Will they be in a situation where they are neither here nor there? That was Arjuna's doubt and fear. So answering that, Krishna has told him that don't worry, never. Anybody who starts some kind of yoga abhyasa, I will make sure that they are not ever thrown into this kind of a uncertain situation. I will take care of everything. Now, in the further shlokas, he goes on to tell what happens to such atmas. A jivatma who has had a life where he was doing, in the human form, he was doing yoga abhyasa, but then in the middle he got diverted by a desire to experience pleasure in Swarga and so on. So what will happen to such a person? Krishna says that such a person will go to that loka, but then later, once that desire is fulfilled, he will come back and take a human birth again. And in what kind of situation he will come, that is what Krishna is explaining in these shlokas. So in the 41st and 42nd shloka, Krishna says, Prapya punya kritam loka nushitva shashvati samaha शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. So he says, having attained to those higher realms, to the lokas like Svargaloka and all, where the righteous people are there, and having dwelt there, having lived there for many long years, one who has fallen from yoga is born again in the house of the pure and prosperous. Or one is born into a family of wise yogis, but verily, truly, such a birth in this world is very difficult to obtain. So, in this 41st shloka, Krishna is promising. What is his promise? He says that whatever, now the yogi, he was doing yoga abhyasa, but then in the middle, he got a desire to attain some other loka and have some enjoyment there. So, Krishna will fulfill that yogi's wish. And he will go to that loka. That person will go, that Atma will go to that loka. And how much ever time he desires, he can enjoy that there. But once that stage is over, right, that person will be born again in the human form. Now, normally, for any person to go to the higher lokas, they have to do lot of punya karmas. They should accumulate a lot of punyas, and only then they become eligible to go to Swargaloka and have enjoyment there. But what Krishna is telling here is that even if, now what are those punya karmas which people need to do to go to those lokas? It may be giving dana, it may be performing different types of yajnas, it may be doing lot of service for the welfare of society, and so on. Now, even if there is somebody who has not done all those things, normally by doing those activities, people go to the Swargaloka. But even if somebody does not do those activities, but he has started doing yoga abhyasa, and in the middle of that he has a desire that, oh, I wish I could go to those lokas and enjoy there, although he may have not done those punya karmas which are required, because he has been doing yoga abhyasa, Krishna will make sure that his desire is fulfilled. Now that atma will go to that next loka after enjoying there, after fulfilling the desires there. Again, that Atma will get next birth. So, this Atma, who was a yogi in one human birth, went to the higher lokas, had whatever desires it had to be fulfilled there, and then again that Atma will get a next birth. Now, what kind of a birth will this be? Where will this yogi now be born? This birth, which will be obtained, will be one which is conducive to continue sadhana from where that person left off in the previous human birth. So, in this birth, he'll be born in a family of people who are pure and prosperous. Pure means what? They don't have any unhealthy desires. They have more of sattva guna. They have very less rajotamo guna. So, they are pure in that sense. And when he's saying prosperous, what he means by prosperous? Those who are prosperous in gunas, those who are very rich with the wealth of good qualities. And therefore, this is a kind of family where the people have no worldly desires for sensual pleasures. They are the kind of people who only wish good for everyone, and by nature, by their natural inclination, they are detached, they have vairagya. Into this kind of a family, this jivatma will appear. Why? Because he has to be in a situation where he can continue his yoga abhyasa from where he left it off in the previous life. If it was that he had to again start from scratch and practice yoga, then he would not be born in such a family. What is the will of the Lord? That he should be able to continue from where he took off, right? Last time itself, we saw the example how in our worldly exams, if somebody scores 20 marks when 35 is the passing mark, they are considered as failed. They have to take the exam again. Now, the next time when they take the exam, if they get 25 marks, they may have increased from 20 to 25, but they are still considered failed because they have not achieved the marks which is desired, that is 35 marks. But what is the Lord's calculation? He says 20 you got first time, 25 you got now, totally you got 45, so you are 45, so you are passed. So, like that, whatever was in the previous Janma, this person will start from that stage. He doesn't have to start from scratch again. So, that is why he will be born in a family of such people where they are all pure and prosperous in good gunas. Then in the 42nd shloka, what Krishna has told, he says, Athava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimatam etaddi durlabhataram loke janmayadi drisham. So here what Krishna is saying is, he's telling another possibility. So the first possibility was that this person will be born in a family of those who are having pure heart and good gunas. The other thing that can happen is this yogi may take birth, the next human birth that he gets is in a family of the people who are very advanced in yoga, people who are already yogis, and those who are capable of doing even upadesha of yoga to other people. That means this is the kind of family where people are little more advanced compared to the previous family that we described. So in the previous thing, what we said, the family will be such that they are pure, they have more sattva guna, and they are having a lot of good qualities. So those qualities will be conducive to spiritual practice. Here we are saying the family, this yogi will be born in a family of people who are already practicing yoga and are in an advanced stage, and they are wise people, and they are not only themselves doing yoga, they are also of such caliber that they can do upadesha of this yoga. They can teach this yoga abhyasa to other people. Please remember at this point that whenever here we are using this word yoga, yoga abhyasa, we don't mean what today modern day people are talking as yoga. Nowadays, the term yoga has come to mean yogasana, physical asanas that are done. But here, when we are saying yoga and yoga abhyasa, it is used in the sense that yoga means union of the self, of the atma with the paramatma. In that sense, the spiritual journey is what is being described as the yogic path, right? So the possibility is that if this yogi in his past janma, he was at a stage where he had almost reached the very highest state of yoga, then he will be born in this kind of a family where already the people are all yogis, they are all practicing yoga actively, and they are also teaching it to other people. Why this is required? Because this yogi had almost achieved the purpose of his birth. But at the last minute, he got diverted by wanting enjoyment in the other loka. So now he is brought to be born in a family where it is very easy for him to complete that little bit of yoga abhyasa which is left, to pursue that little bit which is required, and complete the purpose of his birth. And all wise yogis actually, they will pray like this only, that at any point of time, let me have the opportunity to complete this yoga abhyasa and reach the lotus feet of the Lord. But the Lord is warning, getting this kind of opportunity is very rare. It is very durlabha. So it is not that so easily this will happen. You need to be a yogi of the highest caliber to reach this stage. Now, further, if we see this, there is a very famous stotra which is composed by Yamunacharya or Alavandar, who was the Acharya of Swami Ramanuja. In that stotra Ratna, in the 56th shloka, he says, Tavadasya sukhaika sanginam bhavaneshu astu api kita janmame itara avasateshu mas mabhut api me janma chatur mukhatmana. What he is telling, Yamunacharya is saying to the Lord that if I have to have another birth, I don't mind. Make me even to be born as a worm, but where? In the home of those who are solely devoted to the joy of serving you. So he's praying to God that let me have, if I have to have Janma again, I don't mind being born even as a worm, as a krimi, as a kita, right? Krimi kita. I don't mind that, but make me to be a worm in the house of those who are your bhaktas, those who are doing seva to you, those who are bhagavatas, those who are doing kainkaryam to you. Please make me to be born even as a worm. I don't mind in those houses. But I am not bothered. I don't want to be born even as Brahma if I have to stay in the house of those who don't have this kind of bhakti. So, what Yamunacharya is trying to express here is the importance of the atmosphere and the conditions, the environment in which a jiva is born. So if we are born with all the bigger, greatest of Aishwaryam, but we are born in a family where there is no bhakti, it is of no use for our spiritual progress. If we are born maybe in great poverty, we are born as an animal, as a worm, as an insect, anything, but we are in the home of bhaktas, then that environment in that place will give us the sattvikata to be able to progress in our sadhana. So that is what Krishna has explained here. In the 43rd shloka, he continues. He says, Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana. Saying, O Arjuna, O Kurunandana, by being born like this, one regains the disposition of mind which one had acquired in the former body, and from there one strives more than before for success in yoga. So why Krishna is telling this? That he has told now that this yogi is going to be born in a family which is going to be conducive for his sadhana. But Arjuna has a doubt, which is not written here, but the way Krishna has told this 43rd shloka, it feels like Arjuna is having a doubt. What is Arjuna's doubt? Arjuna is wondering that Krishna is telling this yogi is going to be born in a family where there are pure qualities, where they are already doing yoga abhyasa. What difference does it make? Is it that just by being born in such a family, it is going to help this yogi to progress? How is that possible? That is the doubt in Arjuna's mind. So, what Krishna explains is this yogi, when he is born again, he had previous human birth as a yogi. He had done some amount of yoga abhyasa. He was involved with that yoga abhyasa. Then he had got diverted and went off to some other loka. But now he is allowed to start from where he left off. So he is born with the same buddhi which he had in the previous human birth when he was engaged in yoga abhyasa. So he starts directly from that level. This is like the acharyas explain that suppose, let us say, even in our normal life, we see that suppose there is some thought which is there in our head, and we've been thinking a lot about that. And let us say we've been thinking about it throughout the day, and then we go to sleep at night with that thought in our mind, right? It is very likely that when we wake up in the morning, again that same thought only we wake up with. Whatever thought we went to sleep with, we wake up with that same thought playing in our mind. Just like that, if there is a yogi who has been doing yoga abhyasa in one birth, but then he went off to another loka, when he comes back, he comes with the same buddhi which he had in that previous human birth. And therefore, he will have the same buddhi. Now, when he is having the same buddhi, if he happens to be born in another family where there is no interest at all in such things, then it's going to be very difficult for him. So, what is the thing that happens for him? What is the benefit that the Lord gives him? That he is born into this family where that buddhi of his matches with the environment in that family. And therefore, it helps him to continue that same thought process and continue his yoga abhyasa. The samskaras of doing yoga, of practicing yoga, of doing adhyatmic sadhana are there in his mind in this janma. Which samskaras? The samskaras which came in with the subconscious mind from the previous human birth. So those samskaras are buried. Now, when he is born in this family, he sees what they are doing, or he listens to the instructions that they give him, and he sees how their life is going about. That acts as a trigger, and that will trigger off the continuation of his yoga abhyasa from where he left off in the past janma. That is why now Arjuna was wondering, why does it matter? Is just being born in such a family going to help him to do yoga abhyasa? That is why Krishna is explaining in this shloka that he regains that disposition of the mind which he had acquired in the previous body. And therefore, now he is striving more than ever, and he is going to achieve success in that yoga. Then in the 44th shloka, Krishna tells further, पूर्वाभ्यासेन तयेनैव ह्रियते ह्यवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते. By that very former practice, one is borne on in spite of oneself. Even one who merely inquires about yoga transcends the Shabda Brahma. So, this yogi who has done yoga abhyasa in the previous birth, without his knowledge, it is not as if he is remembering his previous birth and he's having memory of that and he's doing. To him, it just seems to come naturally. What do we mean by saying it comes naturally? That means he had done all this in the previous birth. Therefore, without his knowledge, without his involvement, without him realizing that he is doing it in a totally involuntary manner, he just starts doing the yoga with the same level of interest, with the same level of vairagya as he had in the previous birth. And he continues to progress spiritually in a steady manner. Now, here the Vyakyatas give the example that you can compare this progress of this yogi with the situation of somebody who wants to have darshan of the Lord Venkateshwara at Tirumala. What do we do when we want to go and have darshan? We buy a ticket and then we go and stand in the queue. We get into that queue complex at Tirumala. Once you have got in there, do you need to do anything more? Your only action required was to go purchase the ticket and stand in that queue. When you get into the queue, once you get into the queue, there are people milling all around you, right? As they move, as the crowd moves, you also move and you also get pushed. You enter the queue automatically. Once you enter the queue, automatically you will get pushed forward to the point where you have darshan of the Lord, and then you will get pushed out of that temple also. Like that, this action of this yogi, that he had done yoga abhyasa in the previous janma, now he has got a human birth. He's come into another family where everything is conducive for his sadhana. So just like in that Tirumala queue, without being conscious of it, you are pushed. Whether you are interested in being pushed or not, because you are in that queue, you are getting pushed. Similarly, this person, without realizing it, in an involuntary way, he will just take off from where he had left in the previous janma, and he will keep continuing and doing that. We can say another example to understand this, that many times we have seen that there are some people who are very talented in some particular field without them having done any great effort for that. Like you may know of somebody who is very good at drawing. There'll be nobody in the family who is good at drawing, but that child is very good at it. Or you can find somebody who is very good at singing or dancing, or who excels in some uh, particular academics, or in some particular subject, or in some art or something like that. There are some people who are very good at speaking. Now, nobody else in the family has that quality, but this person has got that. How is that possible? That means that that person, this Atma, in the previous Janma, had done lot of sadhana in that field. And now they have come and they're taking off from where they left off in the previous Janma. Similarly, like this, the yogi takes off from where he had left off in the previous Janma. Here again, let us remind ourselves of the story of Jadabharata. You remember we talked about this Jadabharata many times. We have talked about him. So when he was a king and he gave up the kingdom and went and started doing tapas, he got diverted by that deer. He died thinking about the deer, and therefore he took birth again as a deer. When he took birth as a deer, but he remembered that what had happened to him previously. So he made sure he stayed very close to the Rishi Munis in the ashramas and didn't wander away anywhere. When he shed that deer birth, he died thinking about how it is his purpose to do sadhana. So the next janma he got was a human birth, and there he remembered the past two births, and he determined that I will not do anything which can stop my progress now. So, what happened then? In that Janma, he was like a Jada to other people. But in his mind, he was constantly contemplating on the Lord. And then, when Rahugana Raja came, he happened to reveal his real nature to that king. So, like this, like Jada Bharata, in that same way, any yogi, anybody who has done yoga abhyasa in one janma, even if they have temporarily gone off track by wanting to experience joys of other lokas, when they come back again to this human birth, they will be born in a situation which is conducive for them to continue their sadhana. And without their knowledge, they will start doing from the level where they had left in the previous janma. So that is what Krishna is so promisingly telling to Arjuna. So suppose, and in this shloka, what Krishna is saying, even if somebody doesn't have all these things, okay, in spite of oneself, even somebody who only inquires about yoga, that means, let us say there is a person who is not even done yoga in the previous janma. He has just had a desire to learn about it. He has had interest to understand, and he thinks that he wants to pursue yoga. Such a person is called as a jignasu. It is somebody who is having curiosity about that particular thing. Even such a person, Krishna says, will be able to overcome Shabda Brahma. Shabda Brahma means Prakriti, the material aspects of this universe. Even such a person is able to overcome that. Now we will be surprised at how is it possible? So long Krishna was telling that somebody who has done yoga and yoga abhyasa in the previous janmas, they are going to start from where they left off in that janma. And for them, it becomes very easy to attain their purpose. Now Krishna is telling, even if they have not really done so much of yoga, even if they've had just a desire to learn about it, and they've thought that, oh, I should do this yoga abhyasa, is that mere desire enough? What is Krishna telling here? So, somebody who's having the desire to learn and practice, they may not have practiced in the past janma, but then they will be born in a family where such kind of practices are encouraged, right? Somebody who has done yoga is born in the family where people are practicing yoga. Somebody who was almost perfect in his yoga is born in a family of somebody who are perfect yogis. But somebody who just had desire to learn and try to do yoga, he is born in a family where that yoga abhyasa is encouraged, where there is no obstacle which is posed to him to do yoga. So, in that sense, what Krishna is trying to tell is that it is very good if somebody is a yogi and is actively involved in the pursuit of yoga. But even having an interest, in other words, some little bit, you take one small step towards reaching the divine, definitely that one step also counts. You've taken half a step, that also counts. Wherever you have left off in your one janma, you will continue from there in the next janma. That is what Krishna is trying to tell. So, in other words, Krishna is reassuring Arjuna. What was Arjuna's doubt? That what will happen to somebody who is involved with yoga but then gets distracted and diverted from that path? Does it mean that they will never attain their goal? Will they be lost? Right? So, through all these four shlokas that Krishna has told, shloka number 40 to shloka number 44, Krishna has dispelled these doubts which are there in the mind of Arjuna. And he is telling about Yoga Siddhi. Now, in the next few shlokas, he is going to tell further about what is the epitome of this Yoga Abhyasa. What should be the bhava with which somebody does, and what is the best kind of practice that a yogi can do. And that will lead us into the next 8th chapter of Bhakti Yoga. So, anyway, where from chapter 8 onwards, for the next few chapters up to 12, Krishna is going to talk about Bhakti. So, at the end, now we have another 3 shlokas to go for this chapter to complete. At the end of this 6th chapter, Krishna is going to start leading Arjuna's mind further to understand what exactly the yogi should be doing. How can he make sure that he becomes perfect in his yoga? What does Krishna consider as perfection in yoga? We will see that in the next satsang. For today, we will stop here by offering gratitude, kritagnyata, at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And we will pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we will meet again next Friday. Namaskar.